Pacifico is a Mexican lager brewed to be discovered. It's like fresh tracks on a powder day. Like that uncharted trail a stone's throw away. Like the perfect wave on a sunny day. Pacifico. Find your own way. 21 plus. Drink responsibly. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Whenever I need to send roses that are guaranteed to make someone's day, the only place I trust is 1-800-Flowers.com. With 1-800-Flowers, my friends and family always receive stunning, high-quality bouquets that they absolutely love. Right now, when you buy a dozen multicolored roses, 1-800-Flowers will double your bouquet to 2 dozen roses. To claim this special double roses offer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/WWO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/WWO.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Doesn't matter if you're an Indian or if you're a Warhawk.
The ULM mention is the greatest. You'd hope for the best as a ULM fan, but
this is the Bleav in the Warhawks podcast with hosts Dusty Thibodeaux and Chase Regian.
Chase, you always have such great insight.
Tibbs is going to bleep it all.
What are these guys always talking about?
We talk a lot about food on this podcast, and I'm going to continue to do so.
Really, really appreciative of the people and the community and the way that they've backed us up.
Nailed the introduction, by the way. Awesome.
Thanks,
I love
Fish.
it.
Chase, we're back home. We're off the bayou.
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeling any better about football, though?
Oh, God, no. No, we've hit some panic buttons there, but I'm just frustrated. I saw BV's post-game pressure, and it was tough. But I'm just ready to, get to go the last 2 games, so excited to do that, and always win or lose, Go Hawks.
Ride or die.
Yeah, that's right. We'll stand by you and forever.
So we have to shift gears. We got to be more positive.
Okay.
And the man that is still positive, head coach Phil Cunningham. Coach, I say you're the positive guy, but I mean we're sitting at 1-3 into the early part of the season. What all have you seen and learned about your team through these first 4 games of the season?
Okay, before we start in on us, I'm gonna give my take on football a little bit.
Come on, Coach. Love that.
You probably, I don't know if you'll agree or disagree, but
okay.
I've been doing this a long time. Okay, that if I have anything, it's experience. I've seen it, and out of my 30-year coaching career, I've only spent 5 years, and that was when I was at Western Kentucky University, where it's built to win. Here's what I mean by that. I don't care who the players are, the coaches are. At Western Kentucky basketball, you're supposed to win. You should win in men's basketball at Western Kentucky. Okay, but the rest of my career has been places that if you're winning, you're overachieving within that league. Okay, so when I look at our football team, I watch those guys. When I say those guys, I mean the coaches, the players, their staff. I see how hard they're working. I see how organized they are. They're on the right path, and I love Bill Walsh is one of the greatest coaches at team sports of all time. And he had the old quote about, before you ever get to champion, before you're ever a champion, you've got to live like a champion. You've got to day in, day out, act like a champion. Well, but before the trophy comes, you have to do it day to day to day to day, like you're a champion right then, everything you do. Football's doing that now. I mean, you may disagree with me. I'm watching them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching what they do. I'm watching how Coach Vincent leads. I'm listening to his press conference. You may not agree with what he's saying, but I'm telling you, I'm watching them, and I've been doing this a long time. They're doing it the right way. They're acting like champions before they're champions. Is it perfect? No, but it's a tough job. It's a tough job, and it doesn't happen overnight. But what they're doing day to day, they're doing it the right way now. They are. They're going to turn this corner now. I'm sitting there looking at that during our game. I'm sitting there looking at that Northwestern Michigan game score, what Northwestern did, should have beat Michigan at Michigan yesterday. You all go back to that Northwestern game. If we don't give up those 3rd and longs early in that game, well, anything could happen in that game, particularly in that first half. So they're doing things the right way. It's not, the results aren't there quite yet, but their day to day and how they're doing it and how they're grinding and how hard. You got to be hard headed at ULM. You better be hard headed, and you better just put your head down and keep grinding. They're doing that. It's coming. It's coming in football.
I don't disagree with you, Coach. I think that the leadership's in the right. I think we have the right leadership completely. Okay. I'm not pressing panic on Coach Vincent. I'm not pressing. I really still like the staff he's got there at ULM. Of course, this season I think took some turns, and I think, as you know, that he'll really have some reflection time there during the offseason, as little as he gets with transfer portal, I guess. But I'm more frustrated with. I left that game more frustrated with the effort in the fourth quarter, and which I know just comes, I think he's building the right culture, okay? And I think that you're right. I think he's got a championship mentality. I think he's who ULM needs right now. I really do.
Absolutely.
But and I'm not, no hot seat or nothing like that. It's just we gotta. There's simple things in that game that I feel like we got to clean up, but I still trust that he's the right guy to do it for sure. 100%.
That's good. It's good to hear that, because in your all seats, man, everybody wants your opinion. And a lot of times they want to hear negativity. It's just the way it is. It's the world we're in. But I appreciate you saying that, because you're honest and you're basically agreeing with me. And you just so we're on the same page. Now back up to Dusty's question. Okay, we're 1-3. Here's what happens in basketball at our level. Schedule is everything. Schedule. Like, I can look at our schedule ahead of time and project out where we're going to be. Like, I knew, NIU, I look at their roster. You can flip this thing so quick now in basketball. If you have, I'm just be real. If you got enough money in basketball, football is a little bit like that, but football is just a lot more players, so it's harder to do. In basketball, if you got the right money, you can flip it immediately. And in men's basketball, that's going on. It's going on all across the country. NIU, I look at their roster. I mean, I knew they were good when I saw who they were getting, and then when I started watching them on video, I knew how good they were. So I knew that was going to be a tough game. Then we go to Ole Miss, man. I'm just hoping we can compete against Ole Miss, because they're lean, their athleticism. We did. I was proud of our guys, and then we come back home. We play an NAIA team, and we kind of shook off the rust and just the nervousness of playing at home, and everybody wanting to blow them out in the first 5 minutes. We got past that, and our athleticism and talent kind of won the game. And then I knew Houston Christian was a tough game. I sat through that game at our place last year. Well-coached team. Everybody thought we would win that game at home last year. And they hung around and beat us. And they're a better team this year. It's that little high school gym's a hard place to play. And we played great the first half, but we didn't sustain it. So we've shown flashes of what we think we can be, but we haven't been able to sustain it yet. And it's just, again, so much of it dictates schedule. If we had a more user-friendly schedule right now, we wouldn't be 1-3, but we don't. We played 3 road games, 3 Division I road games, and now the problem with tomorrow night is it's maybe the second best opponent we've played since Ole Miss, in a Lamar team who comes in here tomorrow night picked to win their league by a lot of projections. And I'll give you all a quick lesson on scheduling in basketball. If we're, Ole Miss and Miami, Florida, those are money games. Y'all know that. They pay us to come play there. Then we have a few non-Division I games where we pay a little money to teams to play us, like a Rust. The rest of them, they're home and home series. So I've done scheduling my entire career as an assistant coach and as a head coach. I like doing it because it's like Al McGuire used to say, what affects success more than anything? Number 1, scheduling. Number 2, scheduling. Number 3, scheduling. Al McGuire when he was at Marquette, used to say that. It's so true. So I've been a part of it. And when you do these home and home series, the issue is nobody's willing to go on the road first. So we were trying all summer to get somebody to come in here and play, start a 2-year series. They come to us first, we go to them. Because we already had the road games were in place, because Houston Christian came to us last year, Stephen F. Austin, they came to us last year. Okay, so we had to have a home game. We only had 3 home games, 1 Division I and 2 non-D1. We had to have 1 more. Well, by late in the summer, nobody would come in here. You know who wanted to come in here? Lamar. There's a reason why they're coming in here, because they're confident they can come in here and win. They went to ULL last year and won by 25. So that tells you what they're capable of doing. And so they're coming in here tomorrow night. We've got our hands full tomorrow night. We told our team, we started showing the video. We took Friday off, got back at 3 a.m. Friday morning, took Friday off, jumped in there Saturday. We showed them it didn't take long for that Lamar video, what they did at TCU, almost won the game, to get their attention. And we've got a real good team, a good mid-major team coming in here tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially if you come from the football world, don't understand that all these universities might not be the big names, like Ole Miss or like some of those, like teams like Houston Christian, teams like Lamar are really, really can have good teams. And then money's just made it all seem a level playing field, except for, a few of those programs that can dump $100 million into a program, like Baylor trying to pay Edgecombe.
To your point, Chase, Houston Christian went in and played at Southern Miss in an exhibition game and controlled the game the whole way. Beat Southern Miss at Southern Miss, a program that was picked ahead of us in the Sun Belt, and they've been there. They're in year 6 or 7 with that staff, so should be an established program by now. So that's how you don't do that if you don't have a good team. And then Houston Christian's a tough game. Lamar, I mean, if you go back and watch the telecast of the TCU Lamar game, they're commenting on Alvin Brooks, the Lamar coach. He was expressing his frustration because they only had one what we call a money game. TCU was the only one who would pay them to come in there because people are so scared to bring the Power 5 don't want to play them. So that tells you where they are with their program. So again, we'll have our hands full tomorrow night.
It's crazy to me that basketball is baseball on steroids. That baseball, these Winthrops and directional Carolina schools that you're like, nope, ain't playing them. I might play them on a Tuesday night where we kind of agree, hey, we're going to win, but we'll play, kind of fair the whole way. It's crazy to hear that that's the way it is in basketball as well. But knowing you're going to have your hands full, as you said, with this Lamar team, 4 guys in double-digit scoring. Robert Lee Jr., their leading guy, at 17.5 points a game. What have you seen as you kind of start peeling back and looking further and further into this team?
Well, 2 things stand out with their team. Toughness, and athleticism, quickness and athleticism at every position. We're a team that we've kind of built our roster with some skill level, and we're not the most athletic team. When you look at Lamar, they're athletic now. They're athletic 1 through 5, and they're tough. What I like about their team, I like well-coached teams. They're a well-coached team. I watched them play TCU. They're not running their mouth against TCU. They're not talking. They're just playing. They're playing hard. They're playing together. They're playing smart. So they're Coach Brooks is a veteran coach. He's been there long enough he knows what he wants, and they put that thing together. And it just stands out, athleticism and toughness. And then the third thing that stands out, they've got some length. They start a 6'10" kid at the small forward spot, so they've got length. You mentioned Rob Lee, their leading scorer. He's a Division II transfer. There's a lot of that going on at our level of basketball right now. He can really score. I think he had 28 at TCU. You don't go into TCU now. They're known as a defensive team. Jamie Dixon's been there a while. Was at Pittsburgh before that. They're known for their defense. He went in there and got 28 on him, a very efficient 28. So he's a player now. He's Alvin Brooks, their coach, he coached with Kelvin Sampson at Houston. So y'all know how Houston always has that one guard where Kelvin Sampson's going to kind of let him go play. Just go score. Go score it, man. Go do what you got to do to score it. Well, they play the same way. And this kid, Robert Lee, is that guy for them. And he can really put it in the hole.
You're 4 games in, I think, this is a sport to me where you really got to focus on, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, focus on yourself a lot just because you play so many games. You try to get better. 4 games in, what have you learned about this team? What is your current identity? Where do you need to grow? How do you feel, at this point as you try to move through this kind of quote unquote preseason?
Well, Chase, first of all, it's a great question because I'll go back and answer the first part of your question a little bit. You're right. You try to focus on you, but you also have to focus on the opponent. So what we told our team last week, we said November and particularly early December, they're just so different than January and February. When you get to January and February, you're either playing Thursday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Saturday. You'll get on a routine. But in November in college basketball, there's no routine. We haven't had much time off, and we're the kind, like, we're going to grind it out now. We're not going to. When I worked for Letcher Giselle, he said we're either going to rust out or burn out. He used to say, we ain't going to rust out. Well, we ain't going to rust out either now. We're going to do that, and we're going to grind this thing out, and so we're constantly. We come in Saturday morning, so for an hour before practice, we review our video from Thursday night. We practice for an hour and a half, then we come in for about 30, 40 minutes after practice, start prepping for Lamar. So we're throwing a lot at them, and what we have right now, it's kind of our theme of the day today with our team before we got started, is we got to have more of a sense of urgency, because we've built our roster, and y'all have heard me talk about this. We built our roster with a combination of older, veteran college basketball players, U.S. guys who've played college basketball in the States. We had 3 or 4 of those, and we combined them with the young guys. We had 3 or 4 European guys. Raynars had played for a year. We thought we had a really nice combination, and we thought by January we had a chance to be the surprise team of the league, because nobody knows anything about our roster. Nobody knows anything about hardly any of these guys, and we believed we had something pretty good put together. Well, what happens first week of school? Brente Noel tears his ACL, out for the year. 6'10", 220, transfer from Southern Baton Rouge. Really good program that he played in. He's done, out for the year. And I thought he was one of the best 3 or 4 centers in the Sun Belt. I've seen about 4 Sun Belt teams now. He's better than all their centers. So I think we had him down pretty accurate. But again, he's out, so you got to move on. So now what's happening, then Lavelle gets hurt. Lavelle's been out. Just came back last week, came back against Houston Christian on a minutes restriction. I've never, as a coach in 30 years, had that. But that I've never been – you hear about it in the professionals all the time. I've never seen it with college, but it's here. They wanted him to play 10 minutes a game. We played him 13. Mackenzie, our head athletic trainer, she didn't get on me. I didn't hear from her, so we must have survived that. But
you didn't have to admit to it here, but
yeah,
appreciate it.
He's back. He's back. But now we're way too reliant, to answer your broad picture question where we are. We're way too reliant on our younger guys. So what we told them today, we said you have to understand the sense of urgency and what you have to have. Don't take it as pressure, but you have to have a sense of urgency. 2 guys in particular, Hartman, who could end up being our starting center tomorrow night. He's a really talented young man. Y'all saw what he did at Northern Illinois on offense. Had 16 and 28 minutes in his first college game. Pretty good offensively. Not very good defensively right now in rebounding. Just not where he needs to be. So like we told him, we're on him. We're on him hard now. He probably goes home every night thinking, man, these coaches hate me. But we're telling him, we've got to get you. We've got to speed up the process. We weren't counting on you being in this role. We thought we could gradually get you going. No, not now. We got to get you going early. So he's a guy. He's talented. He's really talented. You all have seen that. He's going to be a really good player, Division I player. We need it to be now. We need it to be as soon as possible rather than next year or his junior year. We need it now. The other guy right now who's struggling is Christian Lewis. We believe in him now. He's talented. He can score the ball. He's not the quickest point guard, but he's got a good demeanor about himself. He's got a good body. He's physical. He's a scorer. He can really shoot it. He's got a good feel for the game. He's struggling. It's his first season as a Division I point guard. He's played against 3 monsters at the point now. The kid from Northern Illinois had 10 assists, no turnovers, quick as lightning. Played last year at Columbia. Was played a lot of minutes Division I. Then we go to Ole Miss. That kid's a pro now. I had no idea how good he is. Their point guard is one of the best in the SEC. He's been playing professional basketball in France the last 4 years. He's a senior. He's probably about 24 years old. Then we play the other night. We play against Houston Christian. The green kid they had dominated the game. He had 13 assists and 2 turnovers, where he's in year 4 of college basketball. Christian's in his first 2 weeks of Division I basketball being a point guard. So we've been on him. He's like, man, these guys probably they're not the nice guys they were in the recruiting process. But we've told him today, he and Hartman both, along with our whole team, we said, man, the sense of urgency, like we know as coaches, we know the schedule. We know what's coming next. There aren't any easy games coming. There aren't. Every game right now for us is a challenge. It's a really tough schedule. And so the sense of urgency means we've got to expedite the process. Well, there's going to be some conflict in that locker room and on that practice floor when you're trying to expedite the process, particularly in that video room. And that you can't take it personally. You got to grow. And it's our job as coaches, how quickly we make them grow. But we've seen, to go back to your question, I'm long-winded here, but we've seen flashes of what we can be. First 10 minutes at Northern Illinois, nobody expected that. Me being I didn't expect that, what we did the first 10 minutes at Northern Illinois. Second half at Ole Miss, when it looked like, okay, they're going to get blown out. We hung around, lost by 20. Then at Houston Christian, I wasn't looking for that first half. I didn't expect that. We had 43 points in the first half, just playing off the chart offensively. Okay, defensively, but off the chart offensively. So we've seen flashes. Now, can we do it consistently? Can we put those runs together? Because in order to win the schedule we're playing, you can't do it one half. You can't do it for 10 minutes. You've got to do it for, you got to be really good for 30 minutes and survive those other 10 minutes.
I hear what you're saying about kind of the immaturity of this team, right? Because like the international players, they're just now kind of learning American style basketball. You said Kristen Lewis, really his first 2 weeks of being a D1 point guard. There's a lot of turnover. Is that part of that immaturity, or is that just guys that don't necessarily kind of know each other basketball wise yet to know, hey, this guy's going to make that cut if I make the pass there?
Dusty, that's a great question, because you can apply it to basketball for sure right now. I don't know about everybody else's sport, but in basketball, there is so much turnover. So I don't know yet. I don't know. I can't answer that question completely. I think moving forward, there's really not a great body of work in this transfer portal that tells you what the right formula is. There's not yet. A lot of people will say there is, but I don't know that there is yet. Like a lot of people would say to us, man, you're too young. Now, we didn't plan it to be this young because we didn't plan for Brente and Lavelle to have those injuries. But I do think we'll get better. Like these guys, the Hartmans, the Christians, the Alex Malfeves, these young guys are good players now. So they'll get better as the season goes on. But to answer your question, I'm not sure about that. But I do know this. I do know that you have to have some principles about you as a coach and as a player that you've got to stick to and kind of see where it all falls out. But to answer your question, I don't know yet.
Next weekend, you have a MTE. That's the new fancy word for a round-robin tournament. You get to go against some good mid-major teams there, Morehead State, East Tennessee. How do these things kind of come about, and why isn't this particular MTE in Fayette Ewing?
Well, East Tennessee, if you know much about East Tennessee, I mean, they're traditionally one of the strongest mid-major programs in the South. They've just go back and look at their history. It hadn't just been 1-2 coaches; it's been historical. Basketball has been important at East Tennessee State, and so that means they're sinking money into it. So when you go to an MTE, there's obviously expenses incurred, and so Morehead State's the third team in it. So East Tennessee will play us, and they'll pay Morehead State to come in, and they get 2 home games out of it. The critical game for us in that event is the Morehead State game, because it's going to be like a scrimmage game. There'll be nobody at the game. It's 6 o'clock on a Saturday night in Johnson City, Tennessee. Nobody's going to be there. A few family and friends might be there, but that's the game. That's the really important game for us. Our guys will be juiced up Sunday. Now they're making us play less than 24 hours after that Saturday night game. We've got to turn around and play at 4 o'clock. Typical MTE, they told me during the process, oh, yeah, we're going to play the Saturday game at 4 and the Sunday game at 6. Well, I've been doing this long enough to know, yeah, we'll see. Well, sure enough, we play at 6 o'clock on Saturday, and then we can play the home team, at 4 o'clock on Sunday. So we won't have much legs left on Sunday. But our guys will be juiced up on that Sunday because they'll have a good crowd. It'll be ready to play. But you talking about difficulty putting these things together. I mean, that guy from East Tennessee State that I dealt with, and I knew him from ahead of time and friends with him. I mean, this thing took all summer to get done because the home team, put yourself in their shoes. They want to make sure they get 2 wins out of it. The last thing they can do is pay a little money, bring a team in there and get beat at home. So they do everything in their power to get 2 teams in there that they feel like they can win the game. Well, East Tennessee State did a pretty good job of that. They got Morehead State, and they got us, our first year in here. They've been a struggling program lately. So they feel pretty good about it. And again, that's why I go back and say our game with Morehead State is so important because that's a neutral site game. That should be a toss-up type game. They'll be very similar to Houston Christian. I haven't watched video on them. Our guy who's scouting the game's already watching them. He tells me, yeah, they're just as good as Houston Christian. So that'll be a tough game. It'll just be on a neutral site. But East Tennessee State's always good.
Coach, you mentioned earlier that you watched a few Sun Belt games, and as we start, I know it's a little early to start looking at conference, but I want to know. I haven't watched a single other conference game besides the Hawks. So, what are you seeing around the Sun Belt thus far? What are your early kind of thoughts about what this league might shape out to look like?
Well, we study the scores. We see the scores, and then with ESPN Plus, now that finally Disney and YouTube, I'm a YouTube TV guy, so we finally got that straightened out. I'll be able to watch a few more games. Thank goodness. But I've seen a few games lately. But I think coming into the season, the teams that were really picked at the top of the league, James Madison, Arkansas State, Marshall, Troy. I mean, I think those teams, Old Dominion, 4 or 5 teams, I think they're kind of living up to it. South Alabama, coming off last year's season. But it all goes back to, for example, James Madison right now. I was watching another game, and maybe it was our game, where the announcers were talking about other Sun Belt teams, and they said, hey, James Madison is struggling. They were preseason favorites. I think they're 2-2, and they're struggling or something. Well, I can look at that and say, who have they played? Who did they play? Where did they play? It doesn't mean anything about their ability to win in the league. Who did they play? Where did they play? That's everything in non-conference this year. So I think it's still early, but I think Troy's got off to a good start. They have a veteran. They know how to win. They're coming off a team. They've got a bunch of guys back. They know how to win. I think James Madison, their talent's there. They'll figure it out. It's just going to take a while. They're so new. I think South has, like Troy, they have the momentum of last year kind of staying with them. They've got a way they want to play. Arkansas State, they're kind of like us. They're a new team, new coach, new team. They're really talented. They've got some money up there because the hardest thing to do now at our level is get experience and talent. If you look at a team at our level and they have experience, like everybody wants to be old right now, right? Yeah, everybody wants to be old. We're too young. But to be old and talented at our level, you better have some NIL. That's just the truth. Maybe you don't want to talk about it. Maybe nobody wants to acknowledge that. It's just the truth. Another good team that fits that category is Marshall. I've been to Marshall before. They got money at Marshall now. Y'all know that. They love basketball and football up there. They're spending some money in basketball and football at Marshall. And their roster reflects that. They got some guys who they had to spend some money to get. So those teams have emerged right now. And then the thing that stands out, man, it's like football in every sport in this league. It's just, I always say, look at the footprint of the SEC, and then you go into each state and you get one or two you get a couple of the best mid-major teams in the state. Most of the time, the best 2 mid-major teams in the state. It's a bear of a league, man. To once you get into it and once you get into the grind. But I think it's early. I think it's still a little too early. But I think at the top end, I think the teams that were predicted to be high outside James Madison, again, their record doesn't reflect their talent. But I think they've been pretty accurate on those preseason rankings.
Coach, we got to peel back the curtain a little bit. I know every week y'all have a big kind of coaches roundtable. What are y'all talking about in there? And how much of what's discussed do you kind of take, like, that maybe Ford over in the baseball side, has a great idea of how he's running a practice or a fundraiser or whatever, that you kind of take that to kind of tweak it and make it your own?
Well, we don't get into the details of the schematics and what you're doing day to day and practice wise, but it's always good to hear other opinions on those things kind of outside your sport. And I think when you have that open conversation, it's really beneficial because I'm a firm believer Like, we're going to watch so much video this year. These guys, by the end of the year, we'll have to cut back because it'll just burn them out. But I'm a firm believer in you got to look in that mirror. If you don't look in that mirror, how do you improve? If you can't look in a mirror and self-evaluate, how do you ever grow? And part of growth is hearing different ideas, seeing different ways to do it. And I'll give you a great example that answers your question a little more specifically. When I got here last year, I looked around and I said, okay, I always recruited international my entire career anyway, so I wanted to do it anyway. But I looked and I said, okay, what programs? Because ULM's, I don't care what sport it is, it's a tough job. And y'all don't disagree with that. But I looked around and said, okay, what teams are having some success? Well, y'all know one team that stood out last year, and they did it again this year, is soccer. And they built their entire roster basically off international. Probably 75 to 80% of their roster was international. So when I looked at that, I looked at it and I said, there's something about this campus, and I already saw there was something about this campus that's good for international. It's not that big. It doesn't overwhelm you with size. It's a place where they're not in a small college town. They've got to get out a little bit, Monroe and West Monroe, to see how much is out there. But it's not a little tiny town that's hard to get international. So back to your question, I think it's always great to see ways that people are doing it differently. Molly in softball, something she's done she has really done a good job with former players and donors, and she connects with those donors. They do an off the chart job in their social media. Softball does, and I'm just seeing what comes across the wire. So I think as much as anything, maybe it's not as talked about as much as you said in your question, but I think as a coach, man, you got to study. You have to see what's going on. I see it in football, man. I'm going to go back to football. I see how hard those guys work and how hard-headed they are. And as a coaching staff, they're hard-headed, man. They just are. They're going to beat that head in the wall till they break that wall down. And you have to have that. So I think as much as anything, it's studying coaches and studying programs. I like watching Coach Fletcher. He and I are great friends. We get on great. But I watch him, and I watch how he's done a tremendous job of putting that roster together, because so many of them played for him. So they're so ahead of the curve in what he wants to do. But he has a tremendous what's the right word? It's kind of connection on the floor with that team. And a lot of it's already built in because they already had him. But he's really good at relationships. I see it every time I try to watch him practice some, and I just see how he handles himself. So I think as a coach, administrator, whatever you may be, and you always have to keep learning. I don't ever want to be, and I'm toward the end of my career, but I don't ever want to be that guy who stops learning.
I just want to know why Scotty was allowed to judge the chili, Coach, but it seemed like you got the short end. Did they not invite you?
They invited me, and I hate it because I love chili. But when Scotty practiced, they practiced after us. We went early because they played on Friday night, and so one of us had to go early Saturday morning. One of us had to go late. So it was natural we go early, and because they played Friday, they go late. And I had to turn it down. I love chili. You get, like, in my family, we grew up on chili. Now, chili and hot dogs, I didn't realize at the time, but I think it's a pretty cheap meal to put together. And we killed it at my house growing up.
Corey Crow says you never want to be the chili judge.
Oh.
He said it just goes too poorly for you.
Oh, I bet.
On the thing. But a lot happening around ULM, Coach. I appreciate your insights there. I don't know where to go with this question. Please cut it, Tibbs. I'm sorry. I had something in my head, Coach. I lost it.
Hey, let me follow up on kind of what you were leading into right there. One thing I want to express to you guys and to the followers. I mean, this is a situation with our team that the one thing that we wanted to build this roster with was two things. But one of them, we had to check one box immediately, and that's character. We had to get character and talent in here. And our talent, it's there. It's been hurt by these injuries, but our talent, it's there. It's young talent. But our character is there. And I just want everybody to understand from a coaching perspective that what I like about our team is I love going to work every day because I know I'm working with good people, coaches and players, really, really good people. These guys are guys that they could babysit your kids and you'd be great with that. And now ultimately we all know it's about winning. At this level, you better win. And but the foundation's there. We're in year one, and I wish you guys could have seen Brente Noel play. We'll get him back next year, but the foundation is there, and we're just going to keep grinding and keep getting good kids in here that know how to play and just keep fighting this thing.
Always look forward to it, and can't thank you enough, Coach, for breaking away from the film. I heard the stories of even after Houston Christian that you were just glued to the screen for the whole 6-hour trip home.
Yeah, I've been blessed or cursed, whatever you want to say with it. I can't sleep after a game. And I've been on many a bus ride, and I always said, why am I going to sit here and replay that game in my mind over and over? I'm gonna get right on that video, because it's right. You all hear all the time that everything's about time management. As a coach, particularly all these games flying at you, man, it's all about time management. So, yeah, I mean, I got through our game, and then I got started on Lamar. I should have held off for Lamar. Maybe I could have got a couple extra hours sleep when we got in at 3 a.m. After watching Lamar. I was restless those next 2 or 3 hours. But, yeah, those bus rides are it's a good time to pop that video on and lock in.
Looking forward to it there, Coach. We'll definitely be streaming the game on Monday night against Lamar, and then, of course, over the weekend for the MTE. Look forward to catching up with you with some more wins under our belt.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Outdated systems and inefficient communications are bad news for your supply chain. But with Verizon Business, everything just clicks. With our advanced connectivity solutions, you can automate your operations. Plus, you can keep your teams connected and on top of the job, helping you stay ahead of demand and the competition. It's the chain reaction your distribution needs. Learn more at Verizon.com/distribution.
'Tis the season of gifting and halls to deck, and the Who's in Who Newville were in love with new tech. Where can we find Sonos and Samsung and Nintendo, they shouted. Would they find it in one place? This they questioned and doubted. When suddenly a Who yelled, Walmart's the place to start! And each Who added headphones, TVs, and games to their carts. With Walmart, their shopping was done in a flurry. They cried out, who knew? And ordered their gifts in a hurry. Shop the latest tech gifts in the Walmart app.
A KFC tale in the pursuit of flavor. The holidays were tricky for the Colonel. He loved people, but he also loved peace and quiet. So he cooked up KFC's $4.99 chicken pot pie. Warm, flaky, with savory sauce and vegetables. It's a tender chicken-filled excuse to get some time to yourself and step away from decking the halls. Whatever that means. The Colonel lived so we could chicken. KFC's Chicken Pot Pie. The best $4.99 you'll spend this season.
Prices and participation may vary while supplies last. Taxes, tips, and fees extra.
Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Spicy.
But not too spicy.